Interruption, but I'm Mike Wilbon, a veteran Sherpa scaled Mount Everest for the 22nd time, Tony. You're impressed, right?
I'm Tony Kornheiser. Yeah, I've seen that guy heading up when I'm heading down. Yeah.
When you're heading down in what, an air balloon?
When I'm heading down Everest. Didn't you read Into Thin Air?
Yes.
I'm one of those people that went up there 8, 9, 10 times.
What's the highest you've ever climbed? Give me a footage.
I don't know, 40, 45 feet. I mean, I don't even go up hills. If I'm not in a car,
I know.
Sometimes when you're walking up 11, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My legs really hurt, so I don't know. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Rockets try not to gag away Game 2. The Suns have a big decision to make, and UCF is really getting under the skin of Nick Saban.
Good.
But we begin today with the Cleveland Cavaliers getting a great game from LeBron James, 42 points, 10 rebounds, 12 assists, and still losing to the Boston Celtics. Cleveland's current coach, Tyronn Lue, said Boston is, quote, gooning the game up, unquote. Wilbon, are you sticking with the notion that a series doesn't start until a team loses at home, or are the Cavaliers in real trouble?
Well, Tony, both can be true. You know, they're in real trouble now. If they win Game 3, they're in a little less trouble, and they have to win Game 3. I mean, let's face it. And that would be the game where the other team wins on somebody else's home court. If the Boston Celtics can do that, they're only 1-4 on the road in the playoffs. They're undefeated at home. So home court means everything, and to me, momentum is built when you win consecutive games. So Cleveland would have to win 3 and 4, and then I would shut up and just wait for the series to unfold. But by the way, I love T. Lue. You know I do.
Yeah.
But if somebody was chippy last night, it wasn't necessarily the Celtics. They weren't alone. This guy J.R. Smith committed a foul that was dangerous.
How about him shoving Al Horford from behind? He should have been ejected from that game. But that would have stopped him from his massive total with his backcourt partner, George Hill, of 3 points for the entire game. So if your backcourt gets 3, you're not winning any games ever. Here's the problem that Cleveland has. Even if they win at home, how are they going to beat the Celtics in Boston?
I don't see
where the Celtics are 9-0. Let me go back a day. Because a day ago we talked about James Harden and Chris Paul combining for 64 points and their team losing by double figures, their two best players. Well, LeBron James and Kevin Love combined for 64 points, their two best players, and they lost by double figures. So if we thought Houston had no chance in that series, how can we think Cleveland does?
Well, Tony, here's the thing. The problem is Kevin Love gave him a game last night. Like you said, that was a nice tag team combo. Tony, what we know to me right now is that Boston's a better team. They're more athletic. They have more players that matter, even though Cleveland has the ultimate player who matters. And J.R. Smith can't do what he once did, even a year or so ago, where J.R. Smith could agitate, push somebody down, defend, and still get you 15 to 18 points. He can't seem to do that. So, Tony, so where are they going to go? They don't have enough people to beat Boston.
Mike, I'm sticking with LeBron because I came in with LeBron. But I respect that. I think that they're in real trouble. And I would ask you this about LeBron. That concussion protocol last night was Russell Wilson in the tent. I mean, what exactly was that, Mike?
You know the physician I consult in Scottsdale. Is he ever wrong? He's never wrong, right?
What was that?
I immediately texted and said, what just happened? And he said, oh, you mean the concussion?
Nothing
that probably just happened, but nobody's going to say that. I hope LeBron's okay. I really do. But you know he's not coming out. This ain't pro football.
That was Russell Wilson.
They're not going to remove him.
That was. Yeah, go back out there. Have a good time.
That's right. Tony, I'm sitting right now 3.5 blocks from Houston's home court, the Toyota Center, where Game 2 of the Western Conference Finals will tip right around your bedtime, 9 Eastern.
That's late.
And essentially, there's one storyline, so let's get to it. In order to square this series and avoid a likely sweep, the Houston Rockets have to do what they do better or go to Plan B and do something different. Mike D'Antoni says they're not changing anything. But, Tony, there are Rockets players who suggested yesterday they got to adjust. So which one is it, and can the Rockets get it done tonight?
You dance with the person you brought to the dance, Mike. They won 65 games last year. Nobody else in the league won as many as 60. They did it by having Chris Paul and James Harden on the ball for as long as they wanted to be on the ball and then making shots. That's the way they know how to play. If the shots drop, they win. If the shots don't drop, they don't win. Their basic problem is not only is Golden State better, but Golden State is better at what Houston does best. But, Mike, if Houston makes 23s, they'll win the game. They'll win the game.
That's just it. That's just it. And talking to the Rockets players yesterday, and specifically Chris Paul, they weren't in a what we won't worry mode. They were saying, no, we've got to do this in the very next game, meaning tonight, better.
Yeah,
defensively is what they talked about, because offensively they got the shots they wanted. They missed them, as you suggest. But I would say this, Tony, Mr. Capella had better be on Kevin Durant more frequently.
Oh, it's too hard to guard him.
Tony,
he's too good.
You know what's really hard to guard him? If you're 6'3" and Kevin Durant doesn't see you, there's nothing in front of him. At least Capella is 6'10". He can sort of bother Durant, maybe in theory.
I don't think Capella is used to anybody this quick, this big, because there's nobody this quick, this big. Look.
What would you try?
Well, I'm going to stick with Mike D'Antoni in this regard. I really like Mike D'Antoni. I know you do as well.
Yes, I do.
But he's a one-way guy. At his best, when he has his best teams, when he's got Steve Nash running Phoenix, when he's got James Harden and Chris Paul running Houston, they're really good. They score a lot. That's the way he plays. They may not win championships, though. They're coming up against a better team, Mike.
They are.
I don't know. What else? We can talk about this forever. The other team's better.
I know it was college. Remember when Rick Pitino just basically humiliated us?
Yes,
when he said, I'm going to change everything
inside.
I know because
yes.
I can't beat Patrick Ewing. I can't beat him this way. No, it wasn't a Patrick team. It's a later Georgetown team. I can't win. So I got to change it. He changed it overnight.
And he did. But
so you're saying Houston can't? They got to change something defensively, Tony. I agree with Chris Paul.
We can argue a lot of things about Rick Pitino and the way he has behaved lately, but we cannot argue that he's a genius. He's a genius coach.
Brilliant.
So, I mean, I'm not sure you can do that now with a pro team and not a college team, and that was 35 years ago. The Phoenix Suns won the NBA lottery last night, and they now have the first pick. Everyone says they ought to stay local and pick Arizona freshman DeAndre Ayton. But the Suns just hired Igor Koskakov. How did I do? Did I get that wrong? I probably got that wrong. As head coach, I apologize.
Koskov. We're going to update
I'll never say it again. And in Europe recently, he coached Luka Doncic, who many consider to be the second best prospect. Well, the Suns are yet another of your home teams with your gated communities. Who should they pick? Who should they pick?
Tony, this is difficult, man, because he coached this kid, Doncic, who people have had like shuttle flights to Europe to see this kid play. 6'8", he's only 19, but he's been playing like Tony Parker had as a pro for like 4 years already, and there's undeniable talent there. But Tony, Ayton is right in their backyard.
Yeah.
And with the wings they've already got with Devin Booker and Josh Jackson, and you could have a front line that like lines up for 6 or 8 years and just crushes people. But then I'm reminded, Tony, these all-court players in today's NBA. Remember we argued this years ago with Kevin Durant and a certain aspiring dentist who was chosen ahead of him in that draft. You got to look at this different reality than you and I are used to.
So are you going to push? You're not going to say who they should pick? Or are you going to take Ayton?
I think they should take Ayton. I'm going to take Ayton.
So Ayton has been compared by Jay Billis, who knows something, to Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah.
There's no higher compliment than Wilt Chamberlain.
No, there isn't.
But what if Doncic is Oscar Robertson?
How about Tony Kukoc? So, if he's Tony Kukoc, they're going to win.
Here's, I think, the problem that people have. I do think there's a prejudice against European players. Although God knows if I could have had 15 seasons of Dirk Nowitzki, I would take that because he's going into the Hall of Fame. And the prejudice is essentially, well, who are they playing against? What is the level of competition? This is what was used with Shohei Ohtani, who is burning it up right now. I'm not saying you have to take Doncic, but I am saying you shouldn't be afraid to take Doncic. Don't Tony, be afraid of that.
I don't think they will be, Tony, because his coach, a guy who just coached him at a
high level.
And by the way, who are they playing? That league is better than a one-and-done NCAA league right now.
You have a lot of film on Doncic. You got about 5 games on Ayton. And by the way, in the most important thing in the NCAAs,
he lost right away.
How far did Arizona go? And the answer is not far.
Let me just say one word to you, though, that's going to make you back up and slow your roll.
Okay.
Wilt, physically, Wilt.
The best.
It's hard to ignore that.
Ever. No, I understand.
Hard to ignore that.
I get it.
It's a dilemma. I hate to interrupt this basketball conversational roll, especially to talk about the annoying Nick Saban. But the Alabama coach apparently is frosted because everybody in Central Florida, top to bottom, is claiming they won the national championship, not Alabama. Undefeated UCF didn't beat anybody all that great in the American Athletic Conference, but they did win their Peach Bowl matchup with Auburn, which handed Alabama its only loss. But Saban says, quote, I guess anybody has the prerogative to claim anything, but self-proclaimed is not the same as actually earning it, close quote. Tony, are you with your dear friend Nick Saban on this?
So how many years have I sat here and talked about what I think of Nick Saban? This is
about 10.
This is so small and so petty to beef down like this. You coach Alabama, for God's sakes. What are you worried about Central Florida? You're the only person, Wilbon, who even knows what conference they're in. Whatever they claim, doesn't matter what they claim. Nobody north of Jacksonville is paying attention to what they claim. So let it go. You're Alabama. Let it go.
We know this, Tony. He's a petty man in so many ways. He's demonstrated that over the years. So you know he's not going to let it go. And of course he should let it. He should, when they said Central Florida, he should have said, what? Who? You just ignore it. This is an enormous beef down that he would pay any attention to this. I wouldn't have thought to ask him. I give the reporters who thought to ask him credit for doing it because I wouldn't have thought to bring it up.
I would like to tell you this is beneath Saban, but nothing is
nothing's beneath
Saban. Saban wrings the joy out of every single thing that he is involved with. He is, as the kids say, he is a buzzkill. I mean, let this go. You know what? At UCF, if they were such a powerhouse, their coach wouldn't have left. He just left. He went to Nebraska. Let it go.
Tony, if you were Nick Saban, you could also say, we'll play you anywhere. What time do you want to tee it up?
We'll play
you could do that.
Yeah,
Take
we'll play
them on.
Yeah.
But, you know, by the way, I love that Central Florida has gotten under his skin. How great is that?
I don't think it's that hard to get under his skin.
Apparently
I don't. I think everybody is sort of a mosquito, and he's swatting all the time. We're taking a break. When we come back, what is LeBron really feeling about his team? We're going to ask Brian Windhorst.
We're also going to ask him again if he has any insight into where LeBron will be playing next season.
Unlikely to be Cleveland, right? Unlikely.
I don't think so. I mean, Windhorst has been answering this question since 2 a.m. when Stan Verrett put it to him.
Well, then he can answer it again. He's got a stock answer.
Like
He's good at it.
The 24 hours of LeBron with Windhorst.
Let's get back into LeBron and the struggling Cavaliers with our good friend ESPN's Brian Windhorst. After game one, LeBron said he had, quote, zero level of concern, unquote. Do you think he still feels that way?
Well, Tony, you know, LeBron doesn't always tell the truth on the podium. I wish he did, but he doesn't. And he did have a level of concern after game one, and his level of concern is still real. And one of the things that he said, it didn't get much attention, but I thought it was maybe the most important thing he said all day yesterday was that just because you did something with the team 4 or 5 years ago or earlier in your career doesn't mean you can do it now, which is his way of saying, in my opinion, that this ain't the same team that we've had in years past when we came back from 3-1 or 2-0. He knew how important that game was yesterday, and that's why it's so stunning to me that the Cavs have not played with more energy. You know, everybody on this team knows that they are more susceptible now than they've been at any time during this 4-year run. And you would think that, especially on the road, that they would have played with so much more intensity. They just didn't play with any effort, at least not any playoff effort, much less Eastern Conference Finals effort. And that's been a huge disappointment for LeBron and the rest of the team.
Brian, Jeff Van Gundy had this great line last night where he said the Cavaliers look at each other with more eye rolls than an old married couple. And I'm wondering, I'm not into body language and eye contact usually, but I mean, this is a successful NBA coach, Jeff Van Gundy, and Mark Jackson felt the same way signing off on this. Is there a problem that exists here?
It's not a problem per se, but Jeff is exactly correct. And I have termed this organizational fatigue. I saw this in Miami at the end of LeBron's run there, and this is the best way I can describe it. When a team like the Celtics, a young team having this level of success for the first time, when there's a mistake that happens, yeah, they may get mad at their teammates or mad at their coach, but there's a sort of a level of purity there, and they're able to move on from it. With the Cavs, there's a lot of scar tissue that's built up. And when there's a mistake made or when a guy doesn't deliver or something unusual happens, they aren't just looking over at him with, boy, you screwed that play up. It's, you know, God, I hate you, and I've hated you for 5 years type stuff. And even if they don't mean it, this is what happens to teams of this that are around for a while. This is why the Warriors and Steve Kerr were so concerned this year about keeping this thing fresh and why he was handing over the clipboard to guys and talking about how tough this year has been. It's hard. The NBA is not designed for the same team to make the finals 4 years in a row. They're bucking historical trends here, and quite frankly, they're just not as good as they've been. And so they're out there and they're frustrated and they have baggage and they don't play with the same purity and the same mindset that a team like the Celtics plays, and boy, does it show up when things go bad. And Jeff Van Gundy was right on the money with that.
Well, Brian, let's talk about being good enough. I mean, if the ping pong balls had bounced one way last night and they win the lottery, maybe LeBron looks at this and says, whoa, we got the first or second or even third pick in the draft. It's eighth. He looks at the roster with the eighth pick now and thinks what?
Michael, the last All-Star to be picked with the eighth pick in the draft was Vin Baker in 1993.
Oh, goodness.
You know who it was before that? Detlef Schrempf in 1985. Now, look, I know that's circumstantial, but the eighth pick is no guarantee of greatness. And I know Donovan Mitchell was picked 12th or whatever last year, and maybe the Cavs will buck the trend and they'll get a player. But let's just say that LeBron was never excited about trading Kyrie Irving. And I promise you, he was definitely not excited about trading Kyrie Irving for a draft pick. And they were a 98% chance of staying in that slot. They had defied the odds for so long. Of course, they got the eighth pick. The Boston Celtics had the Nets control of the Nets pick for 3 consecutive years. They turned that into Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Kyrie Irving. That is maximizing draft pick usage. The Cavs have not historically drafted well, certainly not with LeBron on the team. So I don't think LeBron is impressed at all, but it didn't take until lottery night for him to be convinced of that.
All right, so we'll get you out of here on this. In your gut, what does it tell you about where LeBron's future is in the immediate future, next year?
Well, I just cannot see him going to the Western Conference. I can't see it. Unless it's just like, I want to be happy and live in Los Angeles. Because if he and Paul George go to the Lakers, unless there's some other move that I can't see and they're competing with the Rockets and Warriors, they may win 47 games and get the 4th seed and then will be out in the second round. And maybe he wants to do that. My gut says he still wants to compete with championships. So he's got to stay east. And when you look east, there's not a lot of options out there. A lot of people default to Philadelphia. But I'm not sure that's a great fit because what you need with LeBron James is guys who can shoot. Ben Simmons cannot shoot. LeBron's a ball handler. Ben Simmons is a ball handler. Joel Embiid, if LeBron came and played for the Sixers, Joel Embiid would be turned into Chris Bosh, turned into Kevin Love. He would be told to stand in the corner and shoot threes. I'm not so sure that's what Joel Embiid wants. So, and then if you brought LeBron in, you'd lose J.J. Redick, and they're already probably going to lose Marco Bellinelli and Ersan Ilyasova, or definitely not keep them both. I don't think that's a great fit. I know on paper everybody says, oh, it's wonderful. Now, what I suspect will happen is that a team will make moves to go after LeBron. Maybe that team's Philadelphia. Maybe that team's Cleveland. Maybe they'll flip the 8th pick for a player that really helps them going forward. But I don't see a perfect fit for LeBron. And so that's why I really don't have any idea how this free agency is going to go.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Thank
That's
you,
just
Brian.
great. That's
Appreciate
great.
it.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, did Bill Belichick really talk trash to Doug Peterson before the Super Bowl?
Tony, you're going to break down what the Vegas Golden Knights need to do to go up on the Jets tonight, right? You going to break it down?
You know what I think would happen? He ends up in Boston with Kyrie again.
Oh, no, he's not.
And they win for 5 years.
No, he's not.
Happy time, people. Happy 52nd birthday, Thurman Thomas. The Buffalo Bills announced today they will retire his jersey in October. What? They didn't retire his jersey yet? He's an all-time leading rusher. He's been in the Football Hall of Fame since 2007. They say time stands still in Buffalo. This is ridiculous. I understand they couldn't retire his helmet because they couldn't find it, but how could they not have retired his number?
Tony, don't the Buffalo Bills, without winning a Super Bowl, look better and better and better every year? And it's that cast, it's that ensemble. You have to honor each and every one of them. What are you doing?
Happy anniversary, Magic Johnson. On this day 38 years ago, you started at center. For the injured Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you delivered 42 points, 15 rebounds, and 7 assists in the championship-clinching Game 6 against the Sixers. Wilbon, you will probably pick a Michael Jordan game, but I think this one, a rookie moving from point guard to center, is the greatest NBA game ever. It won a championship.
You know I think this is the greatest game ever. 38 years ago tonight, I left my date in a beautiful gown at the Orrington Hotel to say, I'm sorry, I got to watch Magic, and I left.
Smart move on you. Happy trails, A.J. Pollock. The Diamondback center fielder broke his left thumb Monday. Diving for an out, is expected to miss 4 to 8 weeks. Most people think of Paul Goldschmidt as Arizona's top player, but Pollock leads the team in batting average, home run, and RBI. Pollock's problem is he's injury prone. He has never played in more than 75 games in consecutive seasons.
Tony, they got such a great start, but I told you I thought the team in that division was going to bounce back and win it. Only 3.5 games back now. The San Francisco Giants. You laughed at me.
I didn't laugh
I told
at
you Cardinals and Giants would be back.
The Nats just beat them 4 in a row. There's no laughter about that.
The Nats?
I do. No errors today. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
Eagles tackle and your boy, Lane Johnson, tells Stone Cold Steve Austin that Bill Belichick talked trash to Doug Peterson before the Super Bowl. Do you believe that?
Any sentence with told Stone Cold Steve Austin, I don't even believe the sentence you read me. Your Capitals lost to the Ning last night as predicted here. Is the collar tightening?
They're so good on the road, and they got 2 more shots in Tampa, so I would say no.
Okay.
Tiger has committed to playing in the Memorial. Is it winnable?
He's won 5 times there. Yes, I think he can win this week. I do. Your Vegas Golden Knights return home tonight. You like their chances to go up on Winnipeg?
I've been thinking about this all day. I've been breaking down film.
Really?
I've been looking at the power play, and if it's okay, I would like to push.
Barry,
can you push on this? I have no idea.
Call
Last
Barry
one.
on you.
Justin Verlander versus the Angels tonight. Who you got?
Verlander gives up a run a game. I'm taking him. I'm taking Verlander. They lead the AL West by 1 game. I'm riding with him.
We're out of time. We will try and do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, Knuckleheads. You can get the PTI podcast on the ESPN app or Apple Podcasts.
Springsteen on Broadway. It is great. If you can go, go.